Episode 150, Exercise, Identifying Habits That Drain Your Energy.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
While 150 is not as magical as 420, we've made it. So, welcome to the 150th episode of the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the whole entire fucking universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. Now, it's Friday, and since the beginning of time, I was just about tempted to say, but since the beginning of this podcast, Friday's always been about exercising, not physically. So to all of you couch potatoes out there, totally okay. Don't panic. Everything's fucking great. It's usually mental exercises. Well, not usually. It's always mental exercise. And the reason is that these Fridays are, for most of us blessed people, the beginning of the weekend, which a lot of us spend with killing time, usually with stupid shit, just, to recreate until the beginning of the next phase, the next evolution of insanity. And we started out, and it really has become, or the Friday's exercise episodes have become the most listened to, and it looks like a lot of you are anticipating them. And so in that context, I want to bring up, as every fuck day, it's about sharing is caring. So even if this episode might not immediately appeal to you, maybe there's somebody in your sphere of influence that you can think about. So for instance, if you listen to this episode and the 5 habits that drain your energy, and you think, wow, Uncle Bob is seriously a victim to number 3, then make sure to share this episode with Uncle Bob and anyone who comes to your mind. And you will do so because you are a loyal, subscribed listener to the very best podcast family. Seriously, though, in that sense, let's get started. Because life's short, as we learned yesterday. And so we want to make most effective time of our time. No, most effective use, sorry. So what are we going to be covering today? Again, it's about habits that drain your energy. We're going to introduce 5 of them. And then we're going to, in those examples, identify why they are so bad for you, how you can identify them in your life, and more importantly, and most importantly, actually, how to actively combat them, how to kill them, and how to get them out of your life so that they do not drain your energy anymore. Sounds logical to me. Hope it sounds as logical, at least as logical to you. And without further ado, let's get started. So number 1 is overthinking. And this is interesting because a lot of people do that. And you will as well, to a certain degree. One thing you learn when you get to the upper echelons of management is that these people working there will make seemingly very fast decisions. But the thing is that you learn to trust your gut, number 1, and your gut usually relies on actionable information that you get from your team that you have around you. And in that case, because you have all of that information available at a moment's notice, and you can trust these folks, you can make very fast decisions. They're meaningful and they're impactful for a lot of people, and impactful to a lot of stakeholders and usually a lot of money. But it's just interesting to see how fast these people can react. Now, overthinking, of course, starts with seemingly minute things. Shall I buy this, $5 cup of coffee at your favorite global franchise, or do I go home and pay 20 cents, for the same thing? And at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I'll just go home. But, it's something a lot of people contemplate, investment decisions on this scale because they have to, right? And so it's about making informed decisions and trusting your gut mainly, because your gut is normally right, in combination with your brain. But we have gone into very deep detail on another episode. Just go to theverybestpodcastintheworld.com, search for gut, and I think that episode's 20 minutes long or something. So gives you a very in-depth dive into what the gut is, how it works, and why it's so important to listen to it. Number 2, inconsistent sleeping patterns. Now, I'm one of those people, and it drains your energy, but the amount of energy that you free up in the times that you are awake is mesmerizing. You're always at 110%, and the moment you go below 100%, you just do some shut-eye, half an hour. Usually, a lot of people refer to this as power nap, and then you're good to go. However, if you live in an environment where you and a lot of people around you rely upon you being, well slept and well awake throughout the day, it's insanely important to have a long-term, consistent sleeping pattern. Going to bed at a certain time, waking up at a certain time, and that'll make it easier for you to go through the day unscathed. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. If you're like me, again, whatever suits your fancy, right? If you can live and work like me, and then, you kind of lose aspect of the realm and time and whatever, right? Because the whole world is now so independent of time. You've got email, you've got instant messages, and unless something's burning, right, truly burning, it shouldn't be a thing for you to write an email and to wait for the response. And, then if you're up at 3 a.m, then, hey, answer, at that time. Person's going to get it the next morning. You just have a small, minute lag in communication. Number 3 is eating junk food. And that's very important to wrap your head around. Now, junk food isn't necessarily limited to McDonald's or whatever. You have all of these shops popping up, selling you these prepared, what are they called, wraps or whatever. And they look good, they taste good. And at the end of the day, though, it's junk food, period. There's a little bit of salad in it. You don't know where it's from. You don't know where, what pesticides are in there, et cetera, et cetera. So the only food that is de facto not junk food is food that you prepare yourself, because only then do you actually know what's in it and whether or not the cook has spat in it, because, you're the cook, right? Plus, preparing your own meals is for, not only for me, but for a lot of people, a very important ritual and a relaxing one on top of that. So you might want to consider cooking more. If you have an excuse that you've got so much commute, etc., it's okay, but do it on the weekends, when you're on vacation. Just takes your head off a lot of things and gets you, makes you not take for granted the quality that goes into the food. So that's another very important thing. Number 4, living in the past. That's for a lot of people, the place to be. However, the only place that is real is the present and the present moment. The past is unreal because it's not going to come back. The future is not written and solely dependent on the decisions you make in your life. And so the only thing that's real, the only thing that's actual is the present moment. And that's what you need to enjoy. That's what you need to be. That's where you need to be with your full awareness and all senses to take in all of the good shit that is happening around you. And only then will you learn to appreciate it in full. And the future, again, of course, you have to have your dreams that keeps you going, right? But at the end of the day, your dreams and the dreams are, or your dreams are the result of the decisions you make in the present moment. Right now you're listening to this podcast, so you're not procrastinating in front of the television, which is good. You're learning. But this learning curve, for instance, can get you to the next level while watching television, for instance. Not to say it can't, right? If you're recharging your energy like that, whatever suits your fancy, that might be an opportunity. But the chances are higher to be able to fulfill your dreams in the future by making the correct decisions in the now, right? That goes to say that the past isn't totally irrelevant because it contains a lot of lessons learned, right? But it is your awareness in the present moment that actually enables you to not repeat those mistakes, right? Because if you're distracted by a billion things, you run into a similar situation, and perhaps it's your gut telling you that it's the right situation. Your gut can be wrong on, several occasions. I've experienced that for myself. But the more aware I was of the present moment, the better and the more informed my decisions in the present moment were, right? Just to put a line under that. Number 5, negative people. I did an episode about the bullshit filter a while ago. And there's a lot of energy vampires out there. Be aware of them. Those are people who constantly and always have a problem for every solution you present to them. And it's not about getting them out of your life, because there are friendships attached to that, perhaps even relationships, right? If you go into a relationship, everything is good. Your spouse or partner or whatever has a life-changing experience and understandably become or slip into a more negative mindset. You just can't say, hey, I'm going to cut the cords, I'm out of here, right? Because you went into this relationship for a reason. That being said, then it is your responsibility to up your bullshit filter, to get down to the facts and to help them out of this negative mindset. There are a lot of episodes on how to get people and how to get yourself out of there. So you might want to roll back to those. Now, we've covered the 5 that I promised. And why are they so bad for you? All of them. All right. Whether it's overthinking situations or strategic decisions, right? It costs you a lot of energy, which a lot of times is unnecessary. So in the overthinking bit, you can just train yourself to make decisions more quickly, to research more effectively all the information that is necessary to make the decision as not to overthink it. The inconsistent sleeping patterns, that's quite easy. If you are in the position that you're constantly tired, go to bed earlier. And if something's keeping you from sleeping, go back to the episode where we did this bedside notebook thing, right? Eating junk food, I already explained it. The best food you can get is the food you purchase yourself. the food where only one ingredient is in the ingredient that goes into your food, right? So I'm thinking of a fresh, crunchy salad, head of lettuce that, you can cut and just enjoy. And you know what's in there because you know where it came from, because you bought it and you're preparing it, right? It's about making financial decisions around junk food. It's not cheap to eat at McDonald's. The nutrients versus the cost isn't really in the favor of these fast food restaurants. And again, it isn't limited to fast food joints and franchises. It's really about, preparing food yourself, and then it becomes slow food because you prep it yourself, you put a lot of energy into it, and the food just tastes much better. Living in the past, how do we combat that? I made a lot of episodes on presence, the present, and awareness. So you might want to circle back to those and have a listen to that, how you can transport yourself exclusively to the present moment. It's very important to be there, again, with all your senses, and possibly as much with as little distraction as possible. Number 5, negative people. I think that's quite easy. You cut those people out of your life unless you have a responsibility towards them. Like I said, it's a family member or spouse or partner. Help them. That's your obligation, whatever it takes, right? All the way. So how do we identify those? I think, that's pretty much a no-brainer. Overthinking is a little bit difficult. You're going to have to circle back to your friends and family, and reflect honestly with yourself. Are you an overthinker, or do you make decisions quite quickly? Identifying inconsistent sleeping patterns, I think, is a no-brainer as well. Eating junk food, just observe what you eat. And if it presents difficult, just make a journal, right? And make a list with 5 columns where you put these 5 dirty habits. And, whenever you observe yourself, it's training yourself for awareness, for increasing your awareness. As soon as you find out and reflect on your day and you say, okay, check, then you know that you've done something wrong. Then it's time to circle back, reflect, and then find out that you did something. You submitted yourself to one of these habits, and then it's about really working on it. So, I think we have everything covered, at least from my notes. It appears so. So in that sense, I hope that you have a nice weekend, and that you restore your energy by cutting out these habits. And in that sense, I'm going to hope to hear from you on Monday. No, you're going to hear from me. All right. It's not interactive yet. And stay tuned and have a nice weekend, and we'll be in touch on Monday.